Well, Mr. Briscoe, thank you for joining our program today. Do you find a lot of clients need corporate restructuring during the financial crisis?
Certainly, there are more and more companies encountering financial difficulties at the moment.
Which sector do you think are the most hard hit by this financial crisis?
No industry sector is exempt from the problems. Manufacturing companies in the southern part of PRC in particular are starting to suffer, and I think that's common knowledge. Most of their markets are in the US and Europe, where the consumer sentiment has declined and shows no sign of improving. And it's difficult to see those companies growing until such time as consumer markets in those jurisdictions start to get better. The retail sector has already seen a few quite notable size failures, and I suspect that as the upturn starts, as inevitably it will, then we will start to see some overgeared companies encountering difficulties because they don't have the working capital to enable them to trade out. We've been involved recently in the liquidation of the Krispy Kreme donut chain, and we expect that there will be financial difficulties for a number of companies in the forthcoming future.
What do you propose to how this company to cope with the crisis?
I think the most important thing is for companies to recognise early that they are in difficulties, and when they do recognise that, for the directors to take advice. All too often we're approached by directors when it is too late to save the company. Our experience is that if we are instructed and brought in to advise directors at an early stage, when the difficulties have not got too severe, there's a much greater chance of saving the business, saving jobs, and saving investment. I think the question then becomes, why do people bring us in too late? One of the reasons may be a natural reluctance to bring in outsiders. I think another reason is more likely to be the concern about incurring further professional fees. I think professionals are often viewed as being a luxury, sometimes an expensive luxury. We don't think so. We think that the advice that we can offer is often crucial to enabling a company to be rescued. With that in mind, recognising that the directors don't want to incur further debt at a time when they're already in financial difficulties, we're quite happy to sit down with directors of a company, meet with them for an hour, 2, 3, perhaps a couple of days, just to find out what their needs are and see if we can help them. And if we can help them at that time, we can then talk with them about what the likely costs are going to be.
So you have been a liquidator for 24 years. Can you share any interesting case with our audience?
One or two. I once dealt with a coal mine in South Wales when I worked back in the UK, where the coal was still moved around by pit ponies, and that was in the late 1980s. I've been threatened on a few occasions by people who, had they carried their threats out, could have seriously hurt me. I've known people who've committed suicide as a result of financial distress, and the most memorable moment was a colleague who once fed several tropical fish to a baby alligator in order to enable the alligator to survive over the weekend until we could sell it on the Monday. I'm sure that the current recession will bring with it its own litany of interesting stories, and perhaps we can share them again sometime in the future.
So thank you very much for joining our program today.
Thank you for inviting me.